Peace to the saints. Today we have a discussion about South Africa. Matter of fact, we have an expose almost. And the comedy is that you have South Africans who seem to not be able to acknowledge what they are as a culture, as individuals. We're going to talk about it. In fact, this is an open debate. Engage me. Oh, I welcome it. Absolutely. This will be educational. Yeah, we'll teach you some of the things that your schools didn't teach you. We'll teach you some of the things that your parents didn't teach you, but they should have. And I want you all to know this is not to drag the South Africans. That's not the purpose of this. The purpose of this is to teach and to spread culture, a functional culture, a civilized culture. That is the purpose of this. For you all are lost. And some of you fools may be sitting at home thinking, well, what about the Black Americans? They're lost too. But first, the question is, Marquette, how did you stumble upon this topic? What got you to the point that you thought it would be appropriate to have an open debate and engage South Africans about their country? I recently was hosted on a podcast. I spoke on a number of topics, including South Africa. And as a result, my video editor cut up a clip and posted 16 seconds. And in that 16 seconds, a whole country of South Africans were inflamed. Amazingly, it seems as though the words of one honest Black man trying to speak light into them seem to get them more angry than years and years of apartheid, seem to get them more angry than sitting in the dark because your electricity doesn't work, seem to get them more angry than those high rates of HIV/AIDS in your country, seem to get you more angry than the fact that you go to schools, public schools, and come out still not knowing your history as a Zulu, as a Xhosa, or whatever the heck you are. Got you more angry than that. It's amazing. Oh, the truth burns you up. And you surely can't bear to hear it from a Black person, because you believe yourself and those like you to be so inferior that it inflames you to hear them say something intelligent or accurate. We're going to get into it. And me, I'm here as all of humankind rolled into one. All of the religions, all of the varieties of man. I don't speak to you as a Black American. I just speak to you as a reasonable man. But some of you silly South Africans feel as though you should, instead of addressing my points about you and your culture, feel the need to attack the culture of the Black American. We can deal with that too. People are like, you need to go to South Africa. You never even been there. Oh, that's funny you say that. Actually, I've been to South Africa many times. In fact, I would even challenge all of you South Africans and say, I've traveled South Africa more widely than South Africans. Yes, it's true. And of course, all your major cities, you know, Cape Town several times, Joburg, Durban most recently. Yeah, I've been all over your country. Yes. And I will be back because the women are woo-wee. The women are shaped beautifully. Oh, I'll be back. And I'll be trying to navigate and figure out how to not die of HIV/AIDS while I'm trying to impregnate some of those tall, gorgeous, thick women. Yes. And the funny thing is, people in the comments, they talking tough. You know, you won't say that in South Africa. Brody, I will say that for sure in South Africa, and you won't do a damn thing. And maybe I'll bring a white person with me to terrify you, because you guys are terrified of whites. Yeah, maybe I'll just bring one, you know, as a prop, as a sidekick, just to terrify you rascals. Yes. Let's get into it. This is the 16 seconds that set their whole country aflame. And I always find this funny about the Blacks in South Africa. I'm like, you guys are pathetic. You guys couldn't figure this stuff out. Like, the whites are like 10% of the population. You got dominated by 10%. You guys are idiots. And they are. To this day, they're lazy and they're idiots. And I say that with all love, and it's a challenge for them to do better. And I always find this funny about the Black. There you go. Now let's get in a little bit deeper. So number one, I said, hey, I find it strange that less than 10% of the population can dominate you. We're not talking about back in the day. I don't want to hear your ancient excuses. They had guns. We had spears. Fantastic. But today you got guns and you got knives and you use them against one another. Today you are the great majority of the population. And I said 10%. That's generous. I do believe the whites are about 8.4% of the population. And today you have every weapon at your disposal, most importantly, the force of numbers. You are those who populate the police force, the military branches, yet you still live in squalor. And here's what's more, I'm not advocating violence. You needn't use violence. You're the majority, goofball. If you purport to be within a democracy, then you could vote them out of power. In fact, you could vote those of your own out of power who are there blood sucking and acting as stooges and puppets. So I said, attention, lazy, mad South Africans. I'll debate you in 17 hours. You heard in my video, I pointed out the obvious. How is it that to this day, a minority, 8.4% of the population, is dominating you in your homeland, in the land of your forefathers, in the land where your blood goes back into the soil? You are the only true African there. They are invaders. They're not supposed to be there. They're supposed to be guests in your house. Now, as a Black American, let me tell you why this is relevant to me. And this is not a racist thing. When I'm in Germany, I expect it to be primarily German, which is to say whites. I expect the Volk to dominate there. When I go to Frankfurt and I scarcely see a German, I don't like that. Yes, Germany for the Germans, South Africa for the Africans. Not saying they can't be there, but they ought not dominate. It's not right. And you ever notice when you go around the planet Earth, you never go into a country, unless it's an African country, and see a foreign people dominating. You might have Chinese in Mexico, but they don't run it. Come on now. Only the blacks would allow a minority within their country to dominate and run them in 2024. And I've called you out, and you need to say, that man speaks truth. What can we learn from him, as he is one who is designing global culture, a new civilization, such that we might all thrive? This idiot starts off with a lowercase letter and has no punctuation or periods in the entire goddamn sentence. Now, I said you guys are lazy and idiots. That's what I said, and I doubled down and stand by it. And I said straight to your face and then beat the brakes off you in South Africa. Now, granted, the only unfortunate thing, I hope I don't have to go to one of your dirty jails. If you South Africans outside of jail are living in piss, squalor, and filth, I'd hate to see what you're living like in the prisons there. Marquette, how do you know that? I've been through your shanty towns. Yeah, I've seen them, and I'll show you the footage. Yes. I'm not speaking from ignorance. I'm speaking from experience. Little rascals. I said you're lazy. You're lazy. Marquette, what's the evidence of that? I've been to South Africa many times. Most recently, I was in Durban. I went there to buy some real estate. Showed up, said, hey, I got a significant amount of money to spend in cash. I don't need a loan. And I'm going to make a decision very quickly. I'd like to buy some land. No loan needed. I'll make a decision very quickly on the spot. Called up a bunch of real estate agents, black ones, white ones, mixed ones, colored ones, all of them. Oh, yeah, you know, brother, it's the weekend. I'll get back to you Monday. Oh, let me reach out to so-and-so. Oh, let me talk to the owner. Okay, I'll follow up with you. How is it an American shows up, says, hey, I got the money. I want to do this quickly because I don't really feel like being in Durban all the time. I just want to come because it's off season. The weather's not nice. I want to come in, buy this land, and get up out of here. And I'm buying in cash. I can make the decision today, and I can get the money wired to you in full. Like, we don't need no payments, no loans, nothing. I'll get the money wired in full. We can get this whole deal done. No problem. Oh, and by the way, I got $30,000 in cash just so that I can hold on to this deal while the money wires, so you know it's real. That's 30,000 USD cash. We can get a deal done. How is it nobody was able to get the deal done? How is it people are not returning phone calls? People are not showing up for appointments. You're lazy. It was so bizarre. I first started with a couple of white Asians. They're not responsive. Like, oh, maybe they don't believe a black guy has bread like that. I don't know. Try out some black ones. Oh, man, what's going on? You're lazy. All of you, the white ones, the black ones, the colored. But we're really talking about the blacks today, and I'll tell you why we're talking about the blacks today. Because the whites are doing A-OK in South Africa. Yes, they are. How do I know? Well, when I go to South Africa, I mostly stay in the wealthiest neighborhoods, whether it's Durban, Joburg, or Cape Town. Now, mind you, I notice the whites don't really like Joburg like that. I don't blame them. And every time I stay in these wealthy neighborhoods or the best of hotels, I'm surrounded exclusively by whites. You almost forget that you're in Africa. Africa. And here's a funny thing about you pathetic South Africans. I was walking around one time in Cape Town, and I was on a live session. I'm sure there are people watching right now who are on that very live session. I walked to go into a restaurant, and I was ending the live session, and the woman in front, the white hostess, told me that I couldn't come in for a meal. And I was a bit surprised, and I looked inside the restaurant. It was filled with patrons. They were all white. All of the persons serving were all black, the servants. I said, oh, well, why is that? Is the kitchen closed? Now, mind you, this is prime eating time. This is like lunchtime. She's like, no, it's just no. Everyone in there is white. Trying to fail. I was like, is there a reason I can't come in? She was like, don't be that guy. What do you mean, don't be that guy? I'm just asking you. I see that there are open tables and it's the lunch hour. Is there a reason that I can't come in and have lunch? Yeah, there's a reason. N-word. She didn't say that, but that was the feeling you get. But I didn't jump to conclusions. That's not my personality. I realize I'm a foreigner in this land. So then I go to a different restaurant. I sit down. I'm having lunch next to some colored lesbians. I don't know what you call the yellow ones. Is that what you call them? Colored, mixed? I forget. But some yellow ones, yellow females, lesbians, which we'll address that as well. And I said, hey, you guys are South Africans, right? They said, yes, we are. I said, okay, let me run a situation by you. I was just down the street and I walked to go into a restaurant and they basically refused me. There were others sitting in there eating. And, it's, obviously about 10 minutes ago. So this is typical eating time. It would be prime time for a restaurant to serve patrons. They say, oh, yeah, that's called racism. Yes, we still have that. Oh, okay. So in a black country, black people are being discriminated against, and you guys have allowed this to go on. You're pathetic. Now, why does that bother me so? Well, I'll tell you why it bothers me so, because as a black American, you're 12% of the U.S. population, which is to say a minority. Even if we were radicalized or militarized, it really wouldn't favor us. We have too small a population to defend ourselves or to take an aggressive posture. We'd be eradicated. Conversely, the black South Africans have every advantage such that numerically you have such an advantage that you actually don't even need to use violence. You only need to organize. You only need to organize and show the looming possibility of violence, the threat of violence, and then they will behave. And what's more, because you have such population superiority, you don't even need violence. You only need to vote if you're in a democracy. So I said, oh, geez, I'm an African who comes from a people that suffered the Mayafa, were ripped from West Africa, placed in the hells of North America, in a foreign land dominated by people who hate me. Yes? And then I go back to the motherland, which we have to stop that nonsense, called the fatherland. Women are not the leaders. They are not the source. The seed starts with the man. So I go back to the fatherland. And still, I have to suffer more of the same because you guys are so weak. So does it bother me? Absolutely, it does. Now, why do I know you're lazy? I had a big money opportunity and you guys were too lazy to get the job done. Number one, it was a layup. It was a gimme. Here's how I know you're particularly lazy. At this current time, South Africa has the highest unemployment on the planet Earth. You got the highest unemployment on the planet Earth and still too lazy to make some easy money, a big windfall it would have been. Let me see where that data is on your unemployment rate, just so you guys know I don't make up things. I just deal in something called the facts. So here we are, you lazy rascal. South Africa's unemployment rose to 33.5% in 2024. That means 1 out of 3 South Africans has no employment. None. And you have an American showing up with cash, liquidity, and you guys can't even get the deal done. And I was even willing to do this despite the fact that you're currently experiencing something called load shedding, which is a euphemism your government put out to explain that you guys don't have any freaking electricity. Yes, your electricity is going in and out. That's including in wealthy areas such as Cape Town. I went to South Africa a significant amount of time ago to buy a property in Cape Town. Now, you can imagine how much I was willing to spend when I was looking at prime beachfront real estate. Now, you definitely In a place like South Africa, you want to be welcoming to foreign investment. And in that case, when I first went there, truth be told, I was kind of scared by the idea of load shedding and not having electricity on a consistent basis because it would hurt my business and my quality of life. Now, as a result of your incompetence, you basically scare away potential money, and the existing wealthy class of people there are, of course, going to flee. So the fact is that you guys screw yourselves over. But let's really talk about it. Let's go back to this one because I really want to dig in. So, the South Africans and their foolish mentality. First off, I said you guys are idiots. You are idiots. Now, here's another piece of evidence. English is the language of your colonizer. That is the language that you should have mastered, not only because it's the language of your colonizer, but because it is the language of business. I've traveled the entire world doing business on almost every continent except Antarctica. And you can get by just fine with English except China, and they'll always provide you interpreters if you're a big enough deal. And in my case, I was. So the fact of the matter is that you guys were colonized by the British and still don't speak good English is pathetic, especially in 2024 when you can learn this online. You clearly have an internet connection because you have time to watch me chastise you and you refuse to learn. And look at this dummy. Starts the sentence, and I always find this funny about with blacks in South, a lowercase letter. And then you idiots have the nerve to click like. The idiot doesn't even use any punctuation, which is showing his low IQ and lack of education. He writes, you can say that about Africans. First off, dummy, pay attention to the video. I didn't say this about Africans. I said this specifically about South Africans, okay? Because South Africans are actually quite unique on the continent, and I'll explain why. But for example, I didn't say this about those in Botswana who have a significant per capita income, which is quite impressive. They have a democracy that has seemed to get on quite well, and they have a smaller white population. I believe it's about 3% of the population. So they have some level of similarity to South Africa, except they figured out how to make sure that their black population is better cared for. So now we're not talking about Africans. We're talking about South Africans, which consist of a particular type of people, a fairly pathetic, unimpressive people. So first off, you're lying already. You're an idiot without punctuation, and you're lying. I didn't say Africans. He writes, but they can say the same thing about blacks. Give me a second. Let me turn on my air conditioning. And by the way, to the South Africans watching, I know the white South Africans know what air conditioning is, but the black ones, you don't know because you're living in squalor in your own country. You have the opportunity to retake the land like they did in Zimbabwe, which was intelligent, but instead you still have most of your land owned by the white minority. So you don't understand wealth because the greatest wealth comes from the earth. You have the chance to get your hands on commodities and the diamond wealth and mineral wealth of South Africa, but you fail to do it. So I'm going to turn on my air conditioning because I'm a wealthy black American. You might not understand that. Maybe someone can explain this while I'm doing it. I'll be back. Going to enjoy some water here, some premium water that costs more than a day's work in South Africa. But you guys wouldn't know anything about work now, would you? Because you're fucking unemployed. I don't want to hear shit from you. You need to sit down and learn and figure out what can this kind gentleman teach us. I don't want to hear a damn thing from you. Just listen to that pure, clean water. You motherfuckers ain't even drinking clean water. I'm drinking premium water. There's some levels to this. Anyways, look at this. He writes, you can say that about Africans, already lying. This is the chief tool of the wicked, lies. I didn't say Africans. I said South Africans, you fool. Those in Botswana, I respect a great deal. He writes, but they can say the same thing about blacks and America. Okay, first off, stupid. The black American is the wealthiest black human being on the planet Earth. Okay, we're the wealthiest on the whole planet Earth. And more than that, we're really the reason that black people are respected on the planet Earth. We are the most influential blacks. In fact, we're the most influential ethnic group on Earth from a culture perspective. Yeah, it's a fact. And here's a funny thing, South Africans, don't ever compare yourselves to us. You're dealing with fucking bosses. We are iconic on the planet Earth. You can go to any corner of the earth and say, hey, name me 5 black Americans. Woo, they don't even got to think. You hear me? Michael Jackson, we could just name Michaels. Just Michaels. Michael Jackson, Michael Jordan, Mike Tyson. We could just do Michaels. Name me 5 influential black Americans. Easy. You go to another corner of the earth, name me 5 South Africans. They ain't even got to be black shit. Just name me 5 South Africans. Motherfuckers be at a loss for words. Y'all ain't shit compared to us. I don't want to hear any comparison. You're not as wealthy. You're not as influential. You ain't shit compared to us. Don't even compare yourselves to us. Here's the crazy thing. The only South Africans who matter had to come to America to matter. Shout out to Trevor Noah, pale ass, and shout out to Elon Musk, foreign ass. I got to remind Americans, he ain't even one of us. You heard me? He's a foreigner. Come on now. Now let's get into it. And this is not to say that Black Americans are not in a state of disrepair. They absolutely are. And I chastise them as well. You can find entire videos where I talk about them. We're just dealing with the real. People can't handle the truth. See, if people say something critical about the Black American, I don't get offended. Why? Because most of what they're saying doesn't even apply to me. And I can see the truth of it. If someone says Black Americans are low income in the context of America, that's absolutely correct. Am I low income? No. Look at this fine suit. Look at this watch. mdblabel.com. Log in, boss up. If someone says, Black Americans are uneducated, I'd say, yes, the rates of educational attainment are definitely lower in the Black community versus others, save the Native American. Yeah, that's a fact. Am I uneducated? No, I have 2 degrees from world ranking universities, one of which has been ranked the #1 university on the planet Earth. I don't fit that description, but I can acknowledge the truth of it. Why? Because I'm a reasonable, honest man. Let's get into it. Now, this dummy says, but they can say the same thing about blacks in America. Do you mean blacks in America? This is a sadness. You verify your low IQ. You see, this is what saddens me. As all peoples of the earth, those who are unintelligent, we need to silence them and marginalize them and keep them in their place. We really do. They ought not be speaking. They need to be aware that they're dumb. I am tired of people having self-esteem that is unjustified. If you see a dumb kid in elementary school, you grab them by the back of their head, look them dead in their face, like, you're stupid. I want them to know that. I really do. Saves us all time. He writes the same thing about blacks in America killing each other. Well, that's funny you say that, because I remember the last time I was in Cape Town. I arrived wearing 3 gold chains like a real N-word. You dig? Wearing 3 gold chains immediately. The whites, the blacks, the color. Hey, you can't be walking around here like that. Somebody might snatch your chain. They might take it. I say, no, that's all good. I've been around the whole planet Earth. Never had an issue. So, I'm going to wear this chain. It will not be tucked under either. You hear me? Ain't nobody Debo around here. And if they are, I'm willing to find out. Yeah, I'm willing to find out. I'm going to be the same person on any land I step down on. So, yeah, I was wearing chains, diamonds, the whole 9. And you'll be able to see video evidence of that in a second. But what I'll tell you is this. You touch down in South Africa, in Cape Town, which is your premier city, little buddy. That's your nicest city. People telling me to tuck my chains in. You don't touch down in any premier American city and people are telling you to tuck your chains in. Come on now. Talking about the blacks killing each other. Listen. You guys are doing the same thing, but in a dirtier fashion, but you're mostly doing it through HIV/AIDS. Yeah, little buddy, 20% of you guys got HIV/AIDS. That means out of 5 South Africans, you can bet that one of them has HIV/AIDS, a deadly disease. So if you are South African, you look around, there's 5 people. If you're in your house and there's 5 people in there, one of you got AIDS. And I don't say that to make fun of you. I think it's a tragic thing. And I'll tell you what's worse. Let's really get into it now. When I was in South Africa, and I've been there many times, one thing that was absent, and it was disturbing, is there was no public health announcements to use condoms. There were no public health announcements to be cautious. There were no public health announcements to go get checked so that you don't spread this death in the land. There were no public health announcements. But you know what I did see in your raggedy ass country? I did see the promotion of LGBTQ, skittle guzzling, alternative lifestyles. I did see the promotion of that. And you know what's really strange about that? One of the easiest ways to transmit HIV/AIDS is through homosexuality. Why? Because the anus is not meant to be penetrated. It does not lubricate, which means that if you don't use condoms, you're going to have tearing and bleeding, and that's easy to transmit. And if you do use condoms, they're more likely to rip, tear, or burst because it's not lubricated in there, because that's unnatural. But instead, they promote homosexuality to you, which is going to make faster spread of HIV/AIDS. And then you might say, well, LGBTQ in Africa? That doesn't sound right, Marquette. You're damn right. It doesn't sound right. And I'll tell you why it's there. Because in South Africa, it is not really Africa because you guys are so brainless. You are being led by your white minority, which is a liberal, filthy, disgusting, evil minority. And they always have been, and they still are today. And that is why uniquely on that continent, you guys are all about Skittle guzzling because that poison comes out of the Western mentality. And you are being ruled by Westerners. If you look in the whole of the African continent, you find that what the South Africans believe in terms of their liberalism and their love for LGBTQ, oh, it's way out of line with African values. What's the example, Marquette? As of June 2024, homosexuality itself outlawed in 30 of 54 African nations. It's against the actual law to practice that filthy behavior. So if it's outlawed in so many countries, why in your country is it promoted? And also, why in your country is there so much so much AIDS in your country? You might say, well, Marquette, AIDS is a common thing in Africa. Is it though? At that level where 1 out of 5 is HIV AIDS positive? Well, let me tell you what's strange about that. If you slice things up for income, higher income countries should have better health standards. Am I right or am I right? Yes, if you're a higher income country, you should have a higher health standard. Of course, it only makes sense. We have Seychelles, which really doesn't count. It's like a vacation spot. Let's be real here. So Seychelles is unique. Then we have Libya, which I don't even think this is accurate, to be honest with you. Libya is still in disrepair. So I don't even think this is accurate. Then we have Mauritius. If I remember correctly, it's a small island off the coast of Madagascar. Then we have Botswana, which I speak well of on a consistent basis. We have Equatorial Guinea, which I believe is benefiting from commodities wealth. We have Gabon. And then we have South Africa, ranked number 7 out of 54 countries. That's very high. That's very high. And Libya is not even in sub-Saharan Africa. So what I'm telling you is South Africa is comparatively very wealthy. In fact, in South Africa, I think they said the wealthiest square mile in Africa. I think when I was in Joburg, I was at a mall that said the wealthiest square mile in Africa. So you have a wealthy African country with very high rates of HIV AIDS. Well, why is that? Well, little fools, that's because they're trying to eradicate you and you're helping them. That's why they have homosexuality there. It's going to accelerate the spread of HIV AIDS. They also have high levels of promiscuity in South Africa. I witnessed it. And also with the promiscuity, you also have stupidity. Marquette, what do you mean? Yes, indeed. Number one, I was dealing with a Zulu young lady when I was there. Tall, dark skin, beautiful. Body was just unbelievable. Small waist, had a fatty on her, and had a set of knockers. It was extraordinary. Really the kind you want to get pregnant. Just good DNA. Except the IQ, apparently. So she was menstruating and she was like, oh, we could put down a towel. No, we're not going to put down a towel. That's filthy in general. I wouldn't care if we're in the Netherlands. I ain't doing it. I'm not about that life. But check this out. We're in Africa. You think I'm going to be going in there dealing with all that spaghetti sauce? Like where you literally are 20% likely to have HIV AIDS? That's a gamble I'm not willing to take with my valuable life. But just the fact that you are lets me know that you guys are desensitized and uninformed. Yes, the average South African does not have any conscious awareness of the prevalence of HIV AIDS. You guys are like comfortable with it. It's extraordinary. Yeah, that's wild. That should disturb you. Huh? Now let's really talk about it. Now let's go back here because I'm not done with this. So you got this goofy South African writing, the blacks in America killing each other. Nah, I'm pretty sure people think South Africa, particularly the black parts, are extraordinarily dangerous. And here's the kicker. Here's the funny thing. You see, this dumb, dirty black South African, they're talking about America. They've never been. That's funny. But here's the difference. I'm talking about South Africa. I've been many times, and I'll show you evidence too. I've been many times. So I'm speaking from experience, having been on the ground. And additionally, I'm speaking from having studied your data, which clearly you guys are unaware of. If you guys are spreading homosexuality and having sex without condoms and having sex during menstruation, when you have 20% of your black population with HIV AIDS. And it's also worth noting, while the 20% of the black population has HIV AIDS, well, is it the same with the other populations in South Africa, the coloreds, the mixed, and the white? Absolutely not. Their instances of HIV AIDS are much, much lower. Now, here we go. At the same time, they come to America and point the finger at the American blacks. That's a fact, because right here, they're over here talking about American blacks. Well, here's the thing. The comment that I made had nothing to do with black Americans, had nothing to do with black Americans. We're talking about South Africans. Stay on topic. Don't engage a red herring. You see, we're talking about you guys. It's okay. We could separately talk about black Americans, but this video clip is about South Africans. So instead of acknowledging what is true or debating what you don't agree with about South Africans, in your emotional sensitivity, you start striking out and trying to attack others, which only verifies that it's a fact. You are lazy, you are unintelligent. And instead of trying to fix it, you instead complain and get angry. Yeah, I spoke pure facts. And here's the funny thing. You try to attack your superior. Bow down. Black Americans are superior to you in every sense. By far. The only thing we're not superior, your women are thicker. I'm going to give y'all that. Y'all women are shaped beautifully. Praise the Lord. That's the only advantage you guys have. That's literally the only one. Other than that, you're down bad. Gentleman right here writes, South African really sat there, allowed a UK citizen to start a political party in South Africa and voted for him. And then also those from Zimbabwe, those who are Shona, and they experience a lot of racism from the blacks in South Africa. Why? This is comedy. Here's some comedy for you. This is how sick in the head the blacks in South Africa are. They say, oh, you Zimbabweans, you Shona, you're not from here. Leave. You're not from here, South Africa. Now, they've come a short distance from Zimbabwe to South Africa. That's a short distance. These other motherfuckers have come from fucking 4,000 miles away from Europe, but you're cool with them being there. You're not trying to kick them out, huh? You're not rioting and committing violence against the whites who have oppressed your dumbasses for years upon years. Again, I'm not promoting violence. I'm just saying this is the level of stupidity. This is the level of stupidity. You hate yourself so much and you go against the easy target instead of the target that is taking the fucking wealth from you, dummy. And again, I say this to point out Germany for the Germans, South Africa for the South Africans, not the visitors, not the invaders, but the real ones, the real Germans, the folk. But imagine the South Africans get mad at their fellow blacks who have come a short distance seeking economic opportunity, who are not controlling the economy, who are taking a nibble in the economy. Yet they ignore the polar bear that has come far away from Europe and dominated economically and kept you oppressed and did that through violence for decades on end. Person writes, as a South African, I fully agree. As you should. It's the facts. This person quotes, they're all idiots. And I say that with love. No, really, I do. I do say that with love. And the English used in the comments reveals that they're idiots and uneducated in 2024, which is a hell of an accomplishment. You can take free online education. How can you not speak English when English is the primary language of your country? How can you not speak English when the Chinese come into your country and they've already mastered English and you don't even share the same goddamn alphabet with their language? They speak a tonal language, and they came in, mastered English, and they're dominating your economy. And shout out to the Chinese. They do the same thing in Kenya and Zambia and Ethiopia as well. Come on now. Bruh, I'm telling you, they're fucking terrified of whites. Let me tell a true story. I was in Cape Town with that beautiful Zulu girl. It was late at night. We're in their like kind of nightlife district, and I was hungry. I wanted to have something to eat. It turned out that there was only one restaurant / bar that was open and serving food. So I walked to the front and I asked the white guy in the front, I said, hey, is your kitchen still open? He says, yes, it is. And then I proceed to walk in, and the black girl grabs my arm and she says, do you want to go in there? I was like, yeah, I'm hungry. I absolutely want to go in there. Bro literally said, the kitchen's open. Absolutely. Let's go have a bite. She goes into my ear. She says, yeah, but they're all whites in there. Bitch, I don't give a fuck. Nigga trying to eat. Like, the fuck you mean there's all... That has nothing to do with me eating. Now, I don't know if she was saying they're going to poison your black ass. I don't know what that translates to, but the point is, you're in an African country as an African. This is your country, and you're scared to go into certain fucking restaurants as though we got apartheid still popping off in full force. You're scared to go into certain restaurants as though it's the Jim Crow South. You're down bad. She literally was like, no, let's not go in there. It's not the right thing to do. They're scared still. The black South Africans are scared still. And they scared of me too. That's why they won't come on and get flamed. Shout out to Abdi. He writes, Black South Africans played a big homie and troubled their fellow South Africans, Somalis, and Nigerians by tearing down their businesses. Psyche needs to be freed. You ain't lying. And listen, I don't have any problem with people protecting their borders. It's fine if you want to protect your borders, but also don't protect your borders under the idea that these fellow blacks are coming in to steal your money. Motherfucker, your money is in the pockets of those motherfucking Afrikaners. Your money is in the pockets of those white folks that didn't have your fucking money in a chokehold for decades on end. That's who has your money. So if it's about money, go after the real issue. It's the same thing with the American politicians. They want to talk about Russia so much, but China is the one that has the American economy in a chokehold. China is the one that's outperforming us on trade and exports. Come on now. Shout out to Casual Germ supporting the work. Appreciate it. May I also acknowledge Crowned King. He writes, I bet no South African will debate you. Of course not. He writes, but they'll be in the comments after this live every time. Shout out to Drip Lord. He writes, peace of saints, paying what I owe. Mr. Burton, you are instrumental in today's world. You ain't fucking lying. He writes, there is far too much stupidity in this world. So for one, respect the fact that you cook them up with such levels of communication and finesse. Appreciate you. Shout out to Danny. He writes, first tuition, not much, but more to come. Hey, it's much better than the majority of people who watch and freeload. You heard me? So shout out to the real ones who stand up, make their name known. Shout out to Jalen as well. Dirty fucking South Africans. You don't speak to me. You listen and learn when I speak. I fuck around and heal your whole country. You dig? Give me 5 years. All them goddamn South Africans making excuses. We just got out of colonialism. You don't understand the world now, do you? First off, colonialism, horrible thing. And yes, it's true. Most of you became independent in the 1960s, right? But let us remember that a people, even those who are taken over, you still have things that last in your culture. You have language, folkways, mores, religion. You didn't get done like the Black Americans who had all of that ripped out of them, dummy. You were not reset from scratch, dummy. Huh? And also look at Israel. My grandmother's older than Israel. They seem to be getting on just fine. Huh? I don't want to hear your excuses. Shout out to Michael, supporting the work. Appreciate you. Yeah, let's get into it. We talking big facts today, baby. Big facts. And shout out to these fucking coward ass South Africans. When you guys replay this and you're in the comments saying dumb shit, I want you to remember that I gave you guys 24 hours warning and I allowed any one of you to come on and not a single one of you cowards would come on. Why? Because the facts and the truth is not on your side. Shout out to Emmanuel, comes in via Venmo, writes, peace to the saints. May I also acknowledge Joseph, Venmo, writes tuition. Now, also acknowledge Caleb, Venmo, writes tuition. Appreciate all the wisdom and knowledge. Peace of the saints, indeed. May I also acknowledge Clay. He writes, peace of the saints. It's been a while since I caught a live. Shout out to Clay. Comes right back. He writes, I recall in one of your videos, you mentioned that, quote, all money isn't good money, end quote. That's a fact. Does that mean that a person like myself who is pursuing a career in game development on the verge of making no, hell no, get that money, Brody. Shout out to JVR supporting the work via PayPal, writes tuition. Shout out to Wayne. He writes, what do you think about Rhodesian and Zimbabwe today? I think that Zimbabwe has been a phenomenal example for the blacks, but they're so dim-witted that they allowed the Western media, primarily that of the British, to paint an evil image of Robert Mugabe, who is one of the greatest black men to ever walk the face of the earth. And he should be respected. You motherfuckers should be wearing t-shirts with his ugly ass face on it right now and that ugly ass mustache. Why? Because he recovered for the Zimbabweans the most valuable thing, the earth. All wealth comes from the earth. Gold, diamonds, food, even real estate. You can't have an apartment building unless it sits upon the earth. Did the economy there suffer? Of course, there'll be challenges in the short term, especially if you don't have proper transitioning. But let us not forget the way the Western powers sanctioned his little country, the way they tried to destroy the currency in that little country. But you know what? If they still have the earth, they have an infinite well of value. Yes, I'm very proud of the Zimbabweans. And I remember last time I was in Dubai. Was that Dubai or Abu Dhabi? I had that conversation. I think I was in Dubai. I went to both Dubai and Abu Dhabi recently. But I was in Dubai and I was at a breakfast restaurant in a hotel. And I was talking with a woman who is from Zimbabwe, and she was telling me about how the country has changed since Mugabe has been out of power. And she was saying when he was in power, if he says the road shall be fixed, bet your bottom dollar. Next day, road fixed. There was law and order. People are breaking the laws now. She said that there was order. It was a good place to live. And I believe her. Shout out to Robert Mugabe. In fact, when he passed, I did a whole video on him some time ago, and people didn't watch it because they're too fucking stupid. That's why. He's the greatest of black peoples ever. Okay? Full stop. Carrying on. And people make many lies. They try to say that he is one who, killed the whites. This is nonsense. There's literally no evidence of it. It's not true. And to this day, there are whites there in Zimbabwe. I personally know some of them, personally. And let us understand as well that there was a transitioning of the wealth back into the hands, which is to say the land, back into the hands of the blacks. This never happened in South Africa. That's why you guys must be jealous. And understand this, Robert Mugabe was actually knighted by the British crown. Yes, he was a Sir Robert Mugabe. And so as long as they thought he was a dumb black puppet stooge that they could control, he was Sir Robert Mugabe. He was a great guy because he was controlled by the colonial powers. And then once they found that he wanted independence and he wanted Africa for the Africans, then he became a bad guy. Then all of a sudden, he's a dictator. He's evil. Now, let me tell you something funny about the Europeans. What European country can you go to today and find that they are controlled by foreigners? None. None. In every European country, it is controlled by Europeans, as it should be. They got mad when some black man was man enough to think that the black man should dominate in his own land, in his own house. Oh, they thought, we can't have him exercising manhood and masculinity. Oh, no. Pish posh. Shout out to Frank, sending in tuition. Magnage Walter, he writes off topic. I'm in Fallston, Maryland. What may be the issue with Baltimore City schools and 90% of kids not reading on grade level and D average? I actually not only worked as a teacher in Baltimore City schools, I also was the liaison between Baltimore City schools and the mayor's office. So I'm familiar with a great deal of data. At that time, I was aware that 10% of the population was on heroin. Heroin is indeed the strongest drug that one could possibly be on. So the families were in complete and utter disrepair and disarray. A lot of kids being raised by grandparents, utter poverty, and a monolithic culture that was pretty much monolithically poor. I'd never seen such levels of homogeneity as you would see in Black Baltimore. And in fact, you can hear this expressed in their language. You hear a person from Baltimore say hot dog. They don't say hot dog, hot dog. Or when they say two, there's a particular way that it comes out, a twang. Say like, yeah, you went to the store too. And this is because their culture is so homogeneously poor and black that you find these very strong expressions, which there's nothing wrong with, this kind of homogeneity, except that they don't have any variety in class and income and education. And so you have reinforcement of low quality or low class behavior and thinking. There is much cultural change that needs to occur. So yeah, that's just the tip of the iceberg there. Anyway, shout out to the ballers. Baller alert. Mr. Mugisha writes, let him cook. I thank you for your time in game, Saint. Peace of the Saints in a real way. Shout out to Davion. He writes, peace of the Saints tuition. May all people take this lesson as motivation to grow and improve. Exactly. And that's how you know that those dumb South Africans will never grow. You see, when someone tells you the harsh truth and you struggle with it rather than saying, how do I accept and assimilate this information and take the appropriate action? That's the issue. May I acknowledge Luis, he writes, showing gratitude. I heard a quote that goes, quote, a fearless man is no fearless man without the scars of his demons, end quote. Whoo, talk about it. Peace to the saints, indeed. May I acknowledge Dominic, he writes, peace to the saints tuition. I hope you can add more to this boss. He sends a link. Appreciate you. Shout out to the real ones. May I also acknowledge via Venmo, shout out to Zachary. He writes, peace to the saints. You're spitting fire as usual. I think we're caught up there. And shout out to Reggie, who just became a member at thesassin.com. That's THESASN.com. And mind you, you guys see a grand total of 0% of South Africans stepping up, right? Shocker. Okay, so then we have this person named Zandil. Now, I don't think this actually adds up to 15, but, I'm here for it. Absolutely. So he says, put me on the live. Now, the only way we can know if it's you is if you were to email me and your name is following this. So go ahead and email marquetteb@gmail.com. I'd be more than happy to put you on the live. And again, I'll remind you, South Africans, ideally come in via PayPal and put your email address so that I know it's you. But go ahead and email me at the email address below. I'd be more than happy to bring you on. Shout out to Renux, writes, my wife and I watch you all the time. We're big fans. Keep it up, brother. I appreciate that. Shout out to the families that watch. I also acknowledge Brandon sends in the super sticker. Appreciate you. He writes, let's chat. Peace of Saints. Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to Mr. Mogwane. He writes, ammo from South Africa. Thank you for the knowledge and wisdom. Appreciate you. Shout out to the real ones who get it. And shout out to all my South African fans. Shout out to the South African Saints. He writes, peace of the Saints tuition. You are correct. Exactly. And here's the thing. I don't say any of this to disparage or put down South Africans. I say this to challenge you and to get you flamed up and to get you to work. It's a fucking embarrassment that 1 out of 5 of you has HIV/AIDS. That's not acceptable. Every fucking South African bus stop should have an advertisement cautioning people, scaring the shit out of them so that we can stop that pestilence. There should be compulsory testing for HIV/AIDS in public schools, so that we can stop that pestilence. The electrical grid, everything needs to be stopped, and that needs to be the only focus until you get that back online. Why? Because you're stopping direct investment and you're causing your upper class to leave the country. And it's true. And some of you dumb fucks in African countries are raising taxes. Shout out to the idiotic Kenyan government as well. That's a bad idea. Come on now. You got to get your basics in order. Carrying on. Looks like we're caught up there. Now let's get back after it. Enlarge this so that you can see it. As a South African, I concur. Most Black South Africans rather sit idle and cry for poor service delivery than do something for themselves. Love vibing to music and liquor. It's a fact. And I tell you one thing that really burns me up when I see TikTok videos or Instagram reels with Africans smiling with their big ass white teeth and shit, all extra happy and dancing. I'm like, are you motherfuckers, all you guys know how to do is dance and smile and shit? Now, why don't you go take a course, an online course in software development? Why don't you do something fucking useful? All this big teeth smiling and shit. Fucking annoying, honestly. It's despicable. All these motherfuckers know how to do is have sex without condoms and smile, and then complain that the white man is not doing better for them. Amazing. Amazing. Let me see if I can sort this for top comments. Okay, it's already sorted for top comments. There we go. See what else these dumb Fs have said, and then we're going to get back to this information on South Africa, because I got some critical information that everyone needs to know. Oh, they want to start talking about oppression. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Oh, damn. And I always find this funny about that hurts. South Africa. Just trying to click that. I want to read some of this comedy. This individual writes, this guy is running his mouth about something he likely knows little about. Now, this is what I find to be, quite curious. The lies. And I want to caution you guys, the wicked, their number one thing they use are lies, complete lies. It's so consistent. You notice this mudslinging in politics. So this imbecile writes, this guy, first off, you dumb fuck, use my name. It's clearly displayed. This guy is running his mouth about something he likely knows little about. Likely? You have no fucking research. You're literally making up things. He writes, I'm curious to know how much time he spent in South Africa. Quite a bit, you dumb fuck. Yes, I've been to Joburg more times than I can count. Unfortunately, I don't really like the city. I've been to Cape Town more times than I can count. I actually like Cape Town quite a bit. And I've been to Durban more times than I can count. And the reason for that is because Durban is a bit more of a black beach town, which means it's lower cost because the blacks fuck up the property value, apparently. And so I've gone there to scout out real estate. So I've been there quite a few times. And, just so you guys know, I'm not bullshitting you because, evidence is worth having. And mind you, I need to, put a little more effort into social media. You hear me? Like my assistant is always telling me, like, Marquette, you have to take more pictures. You travel the world. You do all the things everyone wants to do. You don't even take pictures. That's because it's regular shit to me. That's why I don't take pictures. I've been doing this for decades. But anyways, here we are. Any of this shit look familiar? There's your best restaurants in Cape Town. Here's the water, which I don't find this to be the most beautiful of beaches right there. Notice something. The whites are 8.4% of the population. You'll notice in this beautiful Cape Town, they appear to be much higher part of the population. Why? Because there's money there. All of a sudden, the whites are appearing. There's money. Where are the blacks at? I thought we were in Africa. Huh? Yep. Oh, is that a statue of a white man? Excellent. Shout out to Africa, who's immortalized your white colonizers. Shout out. You guys have no fucking self-esteem. Extraordinary. Extraordinary. And here's another Cape Town scene. You notice there's a lot of whites there. And there's nothing wrong with, there being whites, except that how are they the majority? How are the whites the majority? Yeah, you got to figure that shit out, don't you? It's fascinating, isn't it? This is one of the women that I hired in South Africa. Oh, and let me give you a quick story on why I say that you guys are lazy. So not only have I visited South Africa as a tourist, I've also operated there as a businessman for you lying fucks. And I've hired 5 South African employees. So I've been doing God's work, and I paid them well above what they should have earned. And let me tell you a funny story just to highlight the fucking laziness of you people. Firstly, just to get 5 employees in South Africa, I had to break my back. And this is extraordinary when you consider that 1 out of 3 of you motherfuckers are unemployed. 1 out of 3 of you guys are unemployed. But it still took me to search high and low to hire people at an extraordinarily high salary. Why? Because you're fucking lazy. Don't show up to interviews and all kinds of weird shit. But let me tell you how lazy and stupid you are. I hired one girl. I think you guys maybe would consider her colored. Fair skinned one. And so I hired 5 people, but there's one I want to talk about. This is to describe the laziness and stupidity. So she shows up to work, and it's her and a number of other women. And we do a training, and then we basically start engaging in the work, which is primarily lifestyle content. I was engaging them as a social media influencer, right? And so we're getting lifestyle content. Now imagine your first day of work. You show up, there's a 40-minute training. You're working with other women your age from your culture who are good looking and smart and competent and ambitious. And then you go have breakfast. It's free. Then you go on a tour of Cape Town, seeing things you've never seen in your own fucking city. And then we go get on a fucking helicopter and we fly around Cape Town, and your only job is to take video footage of the guy paying you. Well, we're about to go get on the helicopter. These dumb bitches are taking selfies of themselves. Fucking brainless. Then we get in the helicopter. They're not even doing the actual job. Like, amazing. Fucking idiocy. Then we get out of the helicopter. Then we go eat at a restaurant that they can't afford to eat at. And then at the end of the day, I send them all home on Ubers. I finance their Uber to get to the work site, and I finance their Uber to get back home. So you're at a job that's paying you way above market rate in your country. The boss is paying all of your meals at restaurants you cannot afford to eat at, and you're flying around in a fucking helicopter day one, and he paid for you to get to work and paid for you to get home. Where in the fuck do you get a job like that? You don't get that job in America, in Dubai, nowhere. That's a dream job is what you call that. Then this dumb bitch, true story, this dumb bitch messages me and says, oh, hey, my mom doesn't know about like this kind of job. Like, like she doesn't really understand. She doesn't think it's real. She doesn't understand like, working for an influencer. Now, mind you, bitch, I don't need to beg you for shit. I was like, cool. You're good. Like, you don't need to come back. That's why I hired 5 of you, because I know you guys are lazy and dumb. I hired 5 of you. I actually only need 2 of you. I expect one of you guys to do some stupid shit. I was like, cool, nice to meet you. She said, okay, I'm just sorry. Sorry to disappoint you. You didn't disappoint me. You've done what I expected you to fucking do. I know when I go into a retrograde economy, if I go into a poor country, I know the people there are low quality. That's why the country's poor. It's never poor by chance. It's poor because the people are low quality. It's just the facts. Don't hate me. Anyways, next day, 24 hours later, all these fucking text messages. Yo, like, what the fuck? Hey, I want to come back to work. Whoa, you not back to work. You only were here one day. And if you didn't like the first day, you ain't going to like nothing else, because we're not going to fly on helicopters every day. So nah, I don't want you back. No, I didn't understand. Like my mom, like she influenced me. And now, mind you, you got a dream job paying a huge amount of money, and you're living like a wealthy person while not being in a country with unemployment so high. 1 out of 3 people have unemployment. And that's for all people. If you slice it up by her age demographic, probably much higher. And you fucked that bag up. And then you beg me and send emails and call and text, and then start texting the other girls who still have their job. And they're trying to lobby on your behalf. And I had to tell them, look, you're wasting my time. I don't want low performers. If she's too stupid to realize this was the opportunity of a lifetime, she's dumb. And if you're dumb enough to advocate for her, you will be fired. She left the job. You will be fired. Don't waste my time with that. Imagine how stupid that girl is. Literally, you had the opportunity to get hired on a permanent basis. And if I were to like fly around the world to places your passport could go, I say, hey, come on. Not even because I need you, because I actually want to give you experiences. I actually want to be a part of your development and growth as a human being, because I felt like it took too long for me to get out in this world. Now, granted, I filled up 4 passport books now. And then you fuck that opportunity up because you're a dumb, fucking lazy piece of shit. Huh? Full stop. You're a dumb, lazy piece of shit. That's all you could be. And people are like, what? Don't call her that. No, that's what she is. And it's okay. It's okay. All right. I got the guy who said he wants to come on. Let me go ahead and shoot him back this link. And I want that to be known. And until we can call a spade, until we can deal with the facts, we're never going to make progress. A woman who denies that job, that was the most idiotic thing. And once she finally realized it, and you beg for the job back, well, now it's too late. But that's not unusual in South Africa that I experienced this kind of stupidity. Mind you, the guy who asked for the link, I sent the link to you now. Now, here's another story, and I got many of them because I was trying to do some real hiring. I wanted to create a customer service base to handle customer service for my businesses, because these are people who are reasonably educated and they speak English. So I was like, okay, I could have customer service here remotely and pay them less than I'd have to pay Americans, but still not have it so bad as it would be in India. Because sometimes the Indian customer service, they accent be too fucking thick. You heard me? Shout out to my Indians, but they accent be too fucking heavy. South Africans do have quite a nice accent. So anyways, check this out. I was in the airport last time I went to Durban, when I went there to go buy some land. And I'm in the Durban airport, and a woman comes up to me and starts like trying to act helpful, which is not helpful at all. I had one suitcase. And she said, oh, let me take your suitcase. What gate are you going to? Now, mind you, I knew exactly where I was going, and I did not have a heavy suitcase. It was actually an inconvenience for her to do this. But, you know, she was persistent. I was like, yeah, sure. Okay, take the suitcase. Yeah, I'm going to this gate. So she takes me over there. Now, mind you, I've been to Durban before, and the airport's not even that big. We get there, and she's explaining to me how she doesn't have enough money and she wants to earn more and she wants to be able to do this and buy a car and blah, blah, blah. And I say, oh, yeah? Okay, well, I'll tell you what. Love. Here's my business card. Take this card. I'm buying land in Durban, so I would like to establish some presence here. And even if not, I'll let you work remotely. I'll pay you above average salary. Here's my card. Shoot me a message on WhatsApp. We'll do a short interview, and then I'll put you to work with basics, which is to say work that doesn't require skill, work that merely requires effort and focus. She's like, oh, okay, all right, okay. Did I ever hear from her? Absolutely not. Why? Because she's a fucking lazy, dishonest liar with no values, and that's the whole of the country. Here's another thing. I was in Starbucks. These are all true stories behind you. I was in Starbucks in the best mall in Durban. And I see the gentleman has just added on. Turn your camera on, please, because this is not like, okay, very good. I see his camera's on. I'm going to add you on in a second. So I was in Durban at a Starbucks, true story. And I had pulled out my wallet to get some South African banknotes, Rand. And I had some American currency there, maybe about 2,000 cash, all hundreds. And she says, oh, is that American money? I said, yeah, it is. She's like, can I see some? I was like, yeah, for sure. So I hand her one, and she's like looking at it and observing. And she's like, oh, she's like, how much is this worth? And I was like, okay, well, you know, 1 Rand is worth this amount, and this is $100 bill, so it's worth this amount of Rand. And she's like, oh my gosh. She's like, can I have it? And I was like, no, which is strange for people to just be actual fucking beggars. That's disgusting. It's like, where's your manners at? But I was like, no, but if you would like to earn this kind of money, I am hiring a number of people here. Here's my card. Shoot me a message on WhatsApp, and, you know, I can help you earn this amount of money. No problem. Okay, yeah, for sure. Did she hit me up? Absolutely not. They're fucking liars on a consistent basis. The unemployment is only a problem if you have people who are ambitious, people who want to earn, and people who are not complacent, meaning comfortable living in fucking filth and squalor. The South Africans are comfortable living in filth and squalor, and we'll talk about that in a second. Talk to me, boss.
Hi. First of all, I just want to say, is my sound okay? Am I not echoing too much?
It's great.
Okay, peace to the saints.
The
Peace
Saints.
to the saints. So, Mr. Burton, firstly, I want to say thank you for your contribution so far
Thank
when
you.
it comes to helping South Africans. That's just the first thing I want to say. I know it's a debate, but as men, you have to pay respect to other men who are at least trying and raising up their hands.
I appreciate that.
And secondly, I want to say that indeed, there are a majority of South Africans, unfortunately, who are very, I just want to say lazy. I mean, when it comes to the other Africans, we have Africans coming in through the border who seem to be a little bit more industrious. But what I really do think the problem is that through this kind of socialist movement,
Mm,
well, not socialist movement, but this kind of socialist politics that's happening, it's almost like we have politicians pandering to people who are really not important. I mean, you have politics where people are getting promised grants, people are getting promised free housing. I mean,
mm,
this is the kind of politics we have in South Africa. That is South African politics. You come in, you get a free shirt, and you vote, and then you get fucked over 10 years
mm.
down the line without
Right.
realizing your infrastructure is not getting built because they're too busy giving you a grant for popping a baby out of your ass. That's what happens in South Africa. I mean,
Right.
that's just the reality. But what I will say is this: there's definitely a small section of South Africans who do see the bigger picture. I just think that they are not getting access to the information. Look, I'm South African. I'm 21 years old. I'm a male. I'm studying accounting.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I also wanted to be a philanthropist, but I went against your advice. I also felt for the South African people. I was like, fuck, I mean, where can I help? But then I realized, actually, fuck it. I mean, you can only help those who want to be helped. So it's like, yo, I'm just gonna get it in.
Right.
Like,
Right. As you
and that's
should.
just,
As you should.
and that's just from your teachings. So all in all, essentially what I'm trying to say, I'll cut it short. I agree, and but I do think that unfortunately the people just aren't awake. They're just unawake.
That's correct. And in every nation, you have to have character education and political education. The character education is, what are the values that we have? And people forget that culture is created. Some cultures may be ancient or older, but if the culture failed, then it needs to be recreated, reshaped, refined, improved. So that's number one. And then the character education has to be there, meaning people are industrious by training. Usually it is the inclination of all of us human beings to prefer leisure over work. That's a natural inclination, right? But to understand the long-term benefits of work is important. And also, more importantly, one of the things that really saddened me with South Africa, I was taking a taxi ride with actually some of my employees, and the gentleman driving, he had started engaging us in a conversation. And I said, well, what tribe are you from? Which for an African American, essentially our tribe is African American, right? But the history is not ancient. Our history kind of started when we were brought to the States. We would be privileged to be able to say, I'm Zulu, I'm Xhosa, I'm fill in the blank with all the other varieties of peoples there. We would be privileged to be able to say that. And there's a long, deep history there. And I asked him, I said, oh, in your culture or in your tribe, is there currently a king? He said, oh, I don't know. I said, was there previously a king? He's like, oh, I don't know. I said, what the fuck? Like, bro, like
Yeah,
we don't even really have a history to learn like that. You do, and you don't
yeah.
know. That's crazy.
Mr. Burton, I just want to chime in there. Um, I'm personally Xhosa,
Mhm.
and the thing with specifically the South Africans is that you realize we're probably the most religious people on the continent, and I'll explain why. You get pastors who come from the West African region, and they come in and they begin to, in a way, sell people dreams.
Yeah.
The problem with South Africans is that we've always been these individuals who like to idolize people, whether it's Nelson Mandela,
Mm.
right? Whether it's Jesus Christ himself. I mean, I'm not saying don't be religious, but all I'm trying to say is that it's been 30 years and your beliefs haven't moved you forward. At some point, it's like you're going to go to church and go give that 10% or 11% of your salary. And where is
Yeah.
that going? Is your community getting better? Or are these pastors and preachers just using that money to smash your daughters and buy them iPhones? I mean, it's
That's a
I mean,
cold game right there. That's cold.
like that's literally what's happening. But I also think that you mentioning culture now is important because as South Africans, a lot of them move towards Christianity, which is fine. But along with moving towards Christianity, unfortunately, in order to be fully Christian, you might have to look down on your African traditions, whether it's regards to how you see the world and how you view things. I mean, people want to forget the history and think that, you know, their specific history is not important and they just want to look at the Bible. Obviously, we understand where the Bible was set and all of that stuff, but I mean, more closer to home as South Africans. I think that's very important to remember. And that's just what it is. I think religion is kind of, I don't want to say brainwashed us into forgetting and into convincing us that, hey, we're all the same, kumbaya. If someone slaps you, give them the other cheek. I mean, it's crazy. We are the first country to give up our nuclear weapons.
That's crazy.
Like nobody forced us. Well, probably behind the scenes. I mean, we all know some conversations were had to say you blacks are not gonna have these bombs because you we can't trust you guys. I mean, fuck.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
So even just that, extremely docile and extremely
Mhm.
religious, that's a perfect population to control and
Mhm.
pacify.
Mhm.
And that's just the reality. It's a welfare state full of religious people who go about their lives feeling good, hoping that, hey, I'm broke as fuck on this earth, but hopefully when I die, there might be a heaven.
Mhm.
Hopefully when I die, I'll get that mansion. Hopefully when I die, all of these things will happen. But it's like, hey, we got people like you, and I'm not saying your life is perfect, but you can make your own heaven on earth if you're willing to put in that work. And that's some of the few things I've learned from you. But yeah, I'm sorry. Continue.
No, no, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. And it's upon gentlemen like you to engage the education of the youth. Some of your parents, your aunts, your uncles, your grandparents, they may be lost. But to teach the youth is the most critical of things. And you're correct in that religion has failed. And that's one of the reasons I try not to speak about religion. People often ask me, well, what is your religion? What do you believe in? I might reference the Quran, Bible, or Torah, because these are books that have impact. But there's no doubt that around the whole planet Earth, religion has failed and will continue to decline in efficacy, and people will continue to manipulate it. And so we need something that is appropriate for our time, something that understands the intersection of technology and morality. Like, for example, I was on Tinder just running through South African hoes. It was crazy. Now, Tinder is actually one of the most dangerous things for spreading STDs because it allows whores to maximize what they can do, the damage they can do, right? Because if you have a hoe that lives on your street, like maybe the dudes on the street on your block, got to run through her, but now this hoe has Tinder. God damn it, she might have taken out all of Durban. So it's actually quite dangerous. Things like Tinder literally should be outlawed in South Africa. The fucking prevalence of HIV/AIDS is too high. And the lack of awareness that they're giving to the people in terms of public service announcements was just astounding to me when we're dealing with 1 in 5 having this deadly disease. And especially when you look at the fact that it's disproportionate among the blacks, which is common around the whole planet Earth, including America.
I think it being that high of a ratio is irrelevant because it's blacks. I mean, who cares? I mean, that's just the honest reality. If it was white people, right?
Mm.
We if you saw what happened with on what's happening on Twitter with Elon Musk and Tristan Tate, and they're pushing this agenda that there's a white genocide in South Africa, and it's like, wow,
Right. That's
the
crazy, right?
the blacks are so docile, they're still getting shitted on, and it's like, fuck.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
like, wow. It's like seeing that just makes me feel like, yo, I wish Mandela just hit that red button, right? I wish that
He
man
should have.
walked out the prison and said, hey, bruh, let's get it in.
Mm-hmm.
We have the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get it in.
Mm-hmm. And it's not too
And
late. It's not too late. And the truth is that's what the Jews did. When the Jews had Nuremberg, they're like, look, everyone who did X, Y, and Z, you're gonna die. Am I wrong?
and true. And it's sad because one of our greatest leaders, his name was Chris Hani. He himself was a revolutionary. He ran the military arm of the ANC, right?
Mhm.
He got murdered outside of his home, and his murderer was Janusz Wallace, and he was known as being a very uh, right-leaning individual. And guess what? He's out on parole.
Hmm.
The fact that this country is not in fucking flames, right? They killed one of our greatest thought leaders, and this
Mm.
country is not in flames. Look, I won't lie. I wanted to be the person who's going to be out in front and speak about this, but unfortunately, I don't think the blacks of South Africa are worth dying for. You know?
Bruh, you're not lying though. Like you're not wrong. You're not wrong. And that's one of the things that I say: be good to, or be yourself, be good to yourself, be good to good people. You got to take care of number one, because just imagine you risk your life for like 10 motherfuckers who don't have the same values as you. They wouldn't give a shit about you if you were sick, dying, and depressed in the streets. That's not sensible. So I agree with you wholeheartedly there. You got some real ism.
And it's true. And I think a part of it, I got it from you because you mentioned how initially you were very, I want to say, Afrocentric, black this, black that, until it got to a point to where it's like, hey, if we have similar values, let's move. Let's move. Because unfortunately, if I'm going to wait for people who look like me to think like me, hey, man,
You've been waiting for a long time, right?
a very long time. 27 years long.
And you know, the funny thing to me is that you and I are probably as far apart on the planet Earth as is possible. I'm in the western part of the United States here in South Africa. We don't even have a direct flight, right? Like it would take me like 30 hours to get to where you are, under best case scenario. But our values are still more similar than any black person that's in the building that I'm in, while we're that far apart, which is why I tell people ethnicity is broken down at an extraordinary level. So whether you're black or you're from this tribe or you're white, none of those things actually matter as much as what's in here. And when you're talking about the person might have your color, but not your thinking, blacks in America talk about being a Pan-Africanist, the African diaspora. And I'm just like, bro, do you know how stupid you fucking sound? You're trying to identify in America with someone in Sudan or someone in Nigeria. There are people, and we'll just take South Africa. Like there are people in South Africa, because you're 7,000 miles away from these people and you want to identify with them. There are people that are 7 meters from each other and don't identify with each other. Like, how could you possibly think that there's some overarching black unity? Like, this is the most ludicrous concept on earth.
And yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true. I think we just need to accept things as they are. And personally, I'm tired of hearing black people say things like they want the land. You don't want the land. If you wanted the land, you know where they are. Relax. If you're not going to do anything, shut up, go to work, go call that white man boss, live your life. That's what you're for. And that's okay. Look, not everybody's meant to be a revolutionary. You know? Not everybody's meant to live like a boss. If it's not for you, it's not for you. Me personally, I've accepted I'm not willing to die for this country. So I'm going to get it how I can. I'm an accounting student. I've chosen my path. That's that. I'm working my way to become a chartered accountant, and I'll see where that takes me. But in regards to being this radical pro-African kind of person, just because I have the knowledge and insights, that's not for me. That's not for me. I want the money. Let me get the greenbacks. You know,
Bruh, I'm with you.
You know, and it comes from a story you told, because you mentioned the story how when you were wanting to be a philanthropist and you spoke to a Jewish lady and she explained that, hey, if you want to do good, you need that money first. It's
First
fine. You want to help, you want to empower, but first empower yourself. Right? So, look, unfortunately, I agree with a lot of what you said, and that's just the reality. And I just want to say thank you so much for the opportunity. Peace to the saints.
Peace to the saints.
It's been a blessing. It's been an honor. I never thought I'd be here, but this is the first time I've sent tuition. I know it's not a lot of money, but I'll come through when I'm up again, definitely, and show real love because I think that's what you constantly do to us. And yeah, peace to the saints. Thank you so much.
Peace of Saints, has been truly a pleasure to hear from you and to learn from you. And you know, God willing, I'm sure we'll meet next time I touch down. What city are you in?
Okay, so I'm studying in Northwest University. That's Northwest is literally, let's say, an hour max away from Joburg, from
Okay, see,
Johannesburg.
that's like my least favorite city, but yeah, I'm sure we'll link up at some point. But shout out to you
No,
and the work that you're doing.
no problem, man. Thank you once again. Cheers.
Absolutely,
I've got to
peace and
get to the
thanks.
grind again, eh?
Yes,
Sure.
sir. Enjoy. And see, that's a beautiful thing right there, and that just highlights the importance of spreading the ism and sharing good education. There are those that they'll hear the information and it'll be a bright light to them, and it'll be something that carries them forward. And that's really our step one, is being able to spread the information. That was a beautiful thing. It's really an honor to speak to that young man and to hear from him. Shout out to Ian. He writes, keep going, brother. Peace to the saints. Tuition came in by Venmo. I also acknowledge via PayPal. Jakob writes, how do you deal with unwanted gifts? Bruh, I get a lot of gifts. Just send cash. Like, just send $1 because I'm a minimalist and people often get gifts that I can't use. Like, for example, a woman got me a shirt with cufflinks. Very lovely woman. But it's like, I don't wear cufflinks because it's inconvenient. Frankly, it's inconvenient. It might be fancy to you guys, but it's just really just inconvenient. He writes, I appreciate the thought, but I dislike owning a bunch of stuff. Same here. At the end of the day, you got to sell it, re-gift it, or just throw it away. It just is what it is, and say thank you, of course. Carrying on. Let's see if we had any of the South Africans that were on the contrary wanting to join. So many of the comments, extraordinary. Now all of a sudden they're nowhere to be found. Shout out to the gentleman. He writes, you are correct. Shout out to Darius. He writes, he writes, people are fighting for the wrong things today. You ain't lying. Michael writes, I'm glad this man discovered you. Absolutely. And really, that is the start of the true revolution, is if we can get enough information out. And I am going to complete a character education course because there's so many things that maybe your parents just didn't teach you. Like, for example, you get up from a seat and you walk out, like push your chair in. There have been times, I've been with people and, we get up and walk away. I push my chair and I got to go push their chair in too. And those are the basics of conduct and character that are not necessarily culture specific. Those are things that should be global, you see, which is the idea of clean up after yourself. Be conscious of how you behave when you come into an environment that is not your own. These are basics in civilization: honesty, integrity, timeliness. Those are the things that we need to talk about. Like, for example, I was looking at a piece of land, 20 acres in Nashville, Tennessee. And I was on the phone with a real estate agent. I said, hey, I want to buy this 20 acres. It looks perfect for what I need. I have 2 questions. If I can get the answer to those 2 questions, I'll fly out within 2 days and I'll have the land surveyed and then I'll buy it. It'll be very simple. I will buy it. I will show up with the professionals to get this done, and within 24 hours, this land will be purchased. The guy on the phone, white young man, he says, okay, yeah, no problem. I'll send you my information. I'll send a text message with all of my information, my card, you can see my face, phone number, email, and then we'll go from there. All right, great. Now, mind you, this is expensive land. It's 20 acres in Nashville, right? So it's in the capital city of Tennessee, or at least I think it's the capital. Internet, correct me. But anyway, so it's 20 acres, which is a lot of acres in a major city, close to an airport and in the heart of the city. So it's expensive. And so anyways, I get off the phone, waiting, no message. This is weird. Did he forget? Check both my phones, check my email, didn't get anything from him. Next day I get a text message. Oh, hey, I just forgot to send you the message. It's like, dude, we're talking about spending a tremendous amount of money together. You're too irresponsible to send me a text message with your contact info, and you expect me to spend in excess of $1 million with you? First off, I don't want to put that kind of money in your pocket just because I don't respect you. But secondly, I don't trust that you're going to pay attention to the details and do the deal correctly, because you can't even send a damn text message within appropriate amount of time, true to your word. So no, we can't do business because I don't think you're going to have everything set up correctly with the title company and the lawyers and all this other stuff, because you've already displayed incompetence at the very first opportunity. The very first time you could have made a mistake, you did. Amazing. Utterly amazing. And that's the sick thing we're doing. And you know what? I want to set up a South African chapter. That young man who came on screen, if someone can remind me to send him the Discord link, and people might be like, "Yo, Marquette, this is for paid members." It is, but we do need to expand and take over certain territories. South Africa is a low-income country compared to the West, and that young man is a leader, and I want him in our Discord, and I want to start building up our South African presence. And so we do need to get him in our Discord because he can do great things. He'll be a good example, good leader. And this is a leadership organization. But anyways, as I say, laziness is not just in South Africa. It's, increasingly moving throughout the whole planet Earth. But when I point out that character education course, it's going to give you guys the tools to make you more effective and successful for yourselves. It's not for me. Just like that real estate agent missed out on a multi-million-dollar deal because he's too fucking lazy to send a text message. Imagine. Shout out to Mr. Mogwain. Writes, "Hi, Mr. Burton. I would like to connect to Lungil, the bright young gentleman, exactly, who was on your stream. If he's reading this, please tell him to put a comment in the chat. I want to connect with like-minded people." So I'm assuming the gentleman is in South Africa as well. I think that's a South African rand. And this is the kind of connections that I want to facilitate. I want the greatest of men, the elite men, the leaders, the strong men, the high earners, the men of values. I want them all connected together because you do not need everyone. You need the top, the cream of the crop, well organized. We can take over. No problem. And I don't know if this is a baller alert. It might be. I forget. I think this is the color of a baller alert. So I'm gonna go ahead and say baller alert. Somebody else can do the conversion. But go ahead and again, everyone remind me. I want both of these guys in the Discord, and I want a South African channel. We really need to take over. They need it. You dig? And those are real South Africans who are very intelligent, and I think that they can be a great value. Someone just emailed me and they write, "May I be let on stream?" So I don't think we saw a PayPal or a Cash App or a Venmo or a super chat from this person. So like, unless you're a woman, which I don't think you are, you'd be breaking our standards. Shout out to Cameron, writes, "Tuition, peace to the saints." And remember, gentlemen, if you don't have any money, you probably don't need to come on this stream. You probably need to like focus on that, right? Like that's a greater priority for you than trying to argue with a motherfucker like me that's wearing a custom shirt. Like you don't need to be arguing motherfuckers that are wearing custom tuxedo shirts with the fucking Oxford button down collar. Like you don't need to order with motherfuckers that's wearing frilly shirts and shit. You heard me? Like I'm on some old other shit. You don't need to be arguing with me, motherfucker. We different. You heard me? Yeah. And here's a crazy thing. I wish my assistant was here to verify this shit. This is how player I am. I had this suit custom made when I was 25. Shout out to the quality. It's still kicking. Now, when you got like 30 suits, you ain't got to wear it every day. It's going to last. But anyways, I had this suit custom made and the fucking tailor is so good. When I button the one button, the print lines up perfectly. But here's the thing. I like the suit so much. When I went back to Dubai many years later with my assistant, I said, "Hey, I want another suit in this print." And they had said that this print was out of print. And we went through a number of places till we found a place that had this print, but in a different colorway and had another suit made. Like that's the kind of shit I'm on. You heard me? Like that was my actual task on that Dubai trip. So don't fuck around with people like me. You heard me? Get your fucking bread up. If you ain't got $2 to send in to try to like, have a conversation, you're not a leader. You heard me? You can lead your ass to $1. You ain't a leader. I've been hustling. I was selling dope at age 11. We're not the same. My level of hustle is way beyond yours. Don't have a conversation with a motherfucker like me, man. You would never catch me without $1. Kind of shit is that? Anyway, shout out to the double baller alert. Nubian writes, "I find it quite disturbing that South Africans are more concerned about beauty pageants, Uber drivers, and not the cold-blooded unaliving of two black sisters by white boars." Bruh, ain't that concerning? Ain't that concerning? Oh yeah, and back to the folks who said, has he been to South Africa? Yeah, man, just like your mom, I've been all up in it. You dig? Come on now. Has he been to South Africa? Yeah, look at this, man. They ain't never seen a nigga in South Africa look like that, Brody. You heard me? You see them diamonds dancing on the black velvet. By the way, speaking of such, go to thesassin.com. We got the black velvet and the red velvet joints for sale. You dig? Yeah, boss talk. Yeah, I've been all up in South Africa, and I was beating up South African niggas too. You dig? Just out there being a general goon. And shout out to these beautiful beaches. I was trying to cop me some land, man. Damn electricity going out. Shit. But yeah, it's a beautiful place, and I was enjoying the best of it, as you can see. And I want to show you real quick. Oh, and there again, that's South Africa. You wouldn't know it. All them Caucasians. You heard me. Where the blacks at? Where the blacks? I thought it was Africa. And that's my whole point, man. And there's some of my employees. And shout out to these women, because these women were pretty damn good, except one of them I had to let go. But for the most part, man, that's really doing their thing in a real way. That one was a super liberal white woman. It was extraordinary. Super liberal. Like really liberal. And again, as I said, true to my word, like I be speaking facts. You heard me? I say we hopped on the chopper in a real way. I'm like that. Yes, indeed. One of them was thick, but she playing games. You dig? So, I always tell people that if you can't put money in people's pockets, you're going to have a limited ability to influence and get things done in this world. That's why I teach entrepreneurship. It's not a game to me. I teach entrepreneurship at a very serious level. And shout out to one of the saints right here, one of the South African saints, where I was just moving through the country and he just pulled up on me. And that's a beautiful thing. I love to hear somebody holler peace to the saints, no matter where I am in the world. And so shout out to my South Africans. And you know what? When I say motherfuckers are lazy and stupid, it's all love. I really mean that. Yeah, I'll look you dead in your fucking eyes until you're lazy. You're not living up to your potential. And that gets me mad. I'm mad to see you be less than you can be. I look my own brother in his eyes, tell him that. I look my mother in her eyes, tell her that. I look anybody in their eyes and tell them that. I really mean it. I'm gonna tell you the truth. I look my damn self in my eyes and say, whoa, man, you done screwed up. And I don't want anyone to get stuck in the mud of their failures. Your failures, you need to get past. It's about what are you going to do today and tomorrow. It's not about what happened in the past. So many South Africans, you don't understand the colonial history. No, dummy. Actually, I do understand the colonial history, but that's not what's critical today. That's not the big issue today. And we're going to finish this up real quick. And I want to take you to some other sites in South Africa. I want to take you over to Joburg real quick. And as I said, these motherfuckers love dancing and smiling. Shout out to those blacks dancing and smiling for the whites. Shout out to them. Now, this I want you to peep. And this is before I was in the social media game. You heard me? This is before Marquette was a YouTuber. And so I want to highlight a couple things for you guys real quick. Check this out. Number one, when I tell you guys I've been living this lifestyle for like a decade, actually, I guess longer than that now, it's a fact. Yeah, I didn't become a YouTuber and then become successful. That's why I can speak from a deep well of wisdom, because I have experience in business, in software. Now, this right here, this is important. That's where I was about to use a foul word, but that's where the blacks live. There are no whites there. You see, when I was in the places where the whites are, this was the places of wealth, opulence, and privilege. Cape Town, beachfront property. Even when I was in Mblote, in Durban, the premier neighborhoods, white. Only time you see blacks when they're fucking cleaning. They're cleaning, or they're security guards against other blacks. Now you see a place that's all black. Here we go. This is what it looks like. And I want you to notice something. This is 2018. Yeah, I've been traveling the world for a long time. You guys didn't see me on YouTube doing videos in 2018. And truth be told, I didn't even really know how to use IG in 2018. As you can see, this probably should have been a story, but instead is a video. But here we go. This is the nature of Marquette Devon Burton. Me. Hey, can we walk through there? Right? Because the tour guy basically pulled up to this beat up ass shanty town, and he just kind of pointed at it. He was like, yep, and there's a shanty town. Anyways, let's go over here. I was like, hold on, my boy. You done showed us everything. We walked through everything. Now we can't walk through? I was like, nah, my boy. I was like, we need to see this right here. Now, mind you, I had a private tour guide. So I said, can we walk through there? He said, well, most tourists don't. Well, I'm the big homie. I'm not like most tourists. I said, well, if the answer is not no, if you ain't saying no, it can't be done, well, shit, saddle up. Let's get up in there. Yeah, because I want to see what the reality is. Because every time I go to a country, because mind you, in America, I was the poor of the poor. Yes, I was the poorest of the poor. That's how I grew up. That's my true story. You can read about that in my book, The Black Box. I don't have a copy, but you can get it on Amazon. It's a true fucking story. I always ask myself when I go to another country, where would I have started? I know where I'm going to end. I'm going to end on top because that's always how it go. I'm going to end on top. But I always ask myself, where would I have started? If I was the poor of the poor in Johannesburg, where would I have been? So I wanted to see this because this is where I would have been in this little shanty town. And I want to think, how would I have hustled my way up out of this? No electricity, no running water. Then let me show you about your political class. Some of you dummies were like, oh, Julius Malema, he's going to save us. Why didn't they vote for him? Wait, hold on. You talking about the ball? Y'all, hold on. Let me enlarge my face because I'm serious about this. So Julius Malema, you talking about the ball grown man, not a muscle in sight. So you talking about the guy who's a South African wrapped in a rainbow flag and an LGBTQ flag? That's the guy that's going to save you? You talking about the guy who's so fucking pro-black, but all of his ideology is communist and socialist? So he's getting his ideology from Jews and Europeans? You talking about that guy? That's who's going to save you? This motherfucker is a white liberal female. And let none of us have leaders that look like this. Woo. Disgusting. A leader should be a strong man. Yeah. Where young boys can look up to him and say, I'd like to be something like that. Yeah. Yeah. So you're hearing a politician in South Africa speak about the head of state, the democratically elected head of state in a different country. And he's arguing against democratic outcomes in another country. And he's trying to influence the politics in another country. Sounds interventionist, sounds imperialistic, sounds arrogant, and it sounds un-African because he's trying to push out something that is completely out of line with African values, with African religion, hell, even Western religion. And shout out to this broke bastard right here, right? Slave American. Yeah, okay, buddy. Okay, buddy. Nigga, I got enough money to make your ass a slave. I will show up to your country with enough money and make your ass a slave. Nigga, I got enough money to show up to your country and pay your mama to beat your ass. Yes, indeed, bro. I'll break off some motherfucking greenbacks or whatever currency she like and have her beat your ass. If you want to say slave American, fantastic. I take that. You're right. The Black Americans were enslaved. I am indeed the product of those who were enslaved and still came out of slavery and outpaced your dumb ass. You heard me? And just if we were measuring up, just, ethnic group to ethnic group, we beat you guys. And then if we measure up man to man, motherfucker, I didn't beat your ass 1,000 times over. You dig? Because I would never be in another nigga's comments talking shit. You heard me? I ain't got time like that. I got to go get a fucking pedicure. You're slave. Goddamn, nigga, I could buy a few slaves. Matter of fact, I'm trying to buy a plantation in Louisiana right now. Real shit. I'm trying to buy an actual plantation, nigga. Yeah, man, 20 plus acres. Real talk. It's my actual life. Let's talk about it, nigga. We ain't on the same level, man. Sit down, shut the fuck up before I pay your mama to beat your ass. Straight up. You dig? You dig? Anyways, think about how goofy you guys are when you have a fucking fruitcake. It's supposed to be your leader. Word. That's not African. That's not mentally healthy. That's outrageous, bro. I wish I would let a little miniature ass nigga wrapped in a rainbow flag be my leader, bro. Y'all got to knock it off with that shit. Come on now. And here's another thing while we talking about it. Let's talk about some shit that's meaningful, huh? How about this part right here? White people in South Africa own a large portion of the country's land. Oh, pity. According to 2017, the white folks own 72% of the land while being only 8.4% of the population. Nigga, why don't you figure that shit out before you talking to me, okay? Figure that shit out. How African soil, Africa, is owned by Europeans. Figure that shit out, my nail. It's 2024. Y'all niggas is still motherfucking colonial subjects in your own country. God damn. And then you following a nigga that's wrapped in a rainbow flag, bro. Homosexuality is outlawed in 30 out of 54 countries. You guys are not even Africa. You're Europe. You are Europe because you're run by Europeans. Yeah, it's different out here. Anyways, and by the way, South Africa is. I typed in. Look at the search query right here. I want to enlarge that for you guys. This is how down bad you guys are. I typed in which African country is pro LGBTQ. Which? I didn't say which one. I just asked. And what did AI say? South Africa. You motherfuckers is fruitcakes over there, Brody. Okay. So y'all need to figure that shit out. You need to be fucking with me. Figure that out. And you guys come up at the top of that list. That's precisely why you're coming up high on this list, which is the HIV rate. Huh? Yes, indeed. That part. Get y'all shit together. Y'all motherfuckers over there super weird, my boy. Super weird. Very liberal. Your women are out of control. I saw in the comments one person wrote like, "And you black man can't control your women in America." Listen, them hoes is out of line. You ain't never lied. Them hoes is out of line. I'm trying to go Taliban on them broads. Real talk. But I tell you what, them South African hoes are completely promiscuous. They're some of the most promiscuous women on the whole planet Earth. And I know I've taken a survey personally, slinging dangalang around the globe. Them hoes is outrageous, and it's extraordinary to be promiscuous in a country where 1 in 5 people have AIDS. That's a different level of promiscuous. A bitch is willing to die for the dick. You heard me? That's crazy. Now, I didn't slang some good pipe in my day, but I ain't slang that pipe to where a bitch like, I'll die for it. And that's what y'all are on, homie. And more importantly, you got your fucking electrical grid is in disrepair. Now, that's clearly due to corruption and mismanagement and poor government. So the fact that you can't get that together, my boy, that's extraordinary. And you know it's a real crisis when look at the search query. The search query was not, is there a crisis? The search query was electricity, South Africa. And the fucking search results was like, they ain't got none. They ain't got none. South African energy crisis, big problem. Now, you know that your politics are out of order when you got that Julius Malema, the homosexual, is concerned about promoting skittle guzzling around Africa instead of getting your fucking electricity on. Imagine your priorities being that fucked up. That's extraordinary. I ain't seen nothing that crazy till I saw Obama's weird ass going into Kenya talking about we're going to remove your subsidy and your aid unless you guys start, getting friendly man to man. That's crazy how you'll let black babies starve to death because they don't want to embrace your skittle guzzling. Extraordinary. We rebuke Obama. He's not one of us black Americans. He's a different ethnicity, and that's just the fact. Shout out to T, comes in by Venmo, writes, "Peace of Saints. What do you think about Kamala seeking to take down freedom of speech on Twitter?" Well, if she wants to take that down, I think we should take her down. But also, shout out to Elon Musk, who is also a white supremacist racist, and he's a dirtbag white South African, just like the rest of them motherfuckers that's racist as shit over there, okay? I don't know why people are acting like Elon Musk is like a good guy. He's a piece of shit. And so is his father, is actually an individual that was touching females underage. His own father procreated, got pregnant his stepdaughter. This is a true story, okay? Let's talk about it. And mind you, I don't engage in racism. If I say something about the blacks or about the South Africans or the black Americans, I'm saying it because it's a goddamn fact. There's no hate behind it. It just is what it is. If I said them white South Africans are largely racist, it is what it is. That's just what the fucking truth is. And Elon Musk is no different. And his father was no different. Those are just something called the facts. And if you don't like the facts, it is what it is. A lot of South Africans didn't like the facts, and that's why we on here talking. You heard me? Shit. And truth be told, I don't find a major problem with a racist white South African, but there's a big problem with a racist black South African who's racist against his damn self, because that's mostly what they dealing with over there. Self-hatred. Come on now, talk to me. Huh? Yeah. Shout out to Gravity Films. He writes, "Peace of Saints, tuition for the game and the great discussion with a young man who joined the live. Inspiring, indeed. And that's the power of the work. Don't compare me to these YouTubers. That's the power of the work. And we actually have an ideology. Marquettism is a complete guide to life. Huh? Come on now. These boys are entertaining you. I'm teaching you how to live the right way. Come on." Shout out to Drip Lord Entertainment with a double baller alert. Writes, "I had to spin the block again to say this. The floral pimping is elite." And listen, man, just because I know we got a couple haters on. You heard me? Let me just show y'all haters some shit y'all know nothing about. Oh yeah, by the way, you bum ass motherfuckers, y'all don't know nothing about there's no belt loops on there. You heard me? That's uncivilized. Belt loops are for motherfuckers who are not wearing custom pants. You see how that flower match up? You know how much time it takes a master tailor to make sure that this fucking flower matches up? Look at that. Yeah, nigga, cry yourself to sleep, you fucking haters. Cry yourself to sleep. It took my tailor hours. A master tailor took hours to make sure that shit matched perfectly for the rare occasions when I button that one button so that shit lines up perfectly. Cry yourself to sleep, motherfucker. You couldn't afford my handkerchief. Real shit. We're not the same, homie. It's different over here. And I got mine out the mud. You dig? With no favors, no privilege, no nothing. I got my shit straight out the mud. You're not like me, boy. You ain't got the right to hate on a nigga like me. You ain't qualified to hate on somebody like me, man. When you get some custom shit and your ass is custom from head to toe, motherfucker, the shoes is custom, the watch is custom, the drawers are MDB label. Log in and boss up, boy. We're not the same. Shit. I enjoy flossing on you dirty, dusty dirt bags. Shout to the dude 343. He writes, hello, Mr. Burden. My business is booming and I'm a part of Assassin. Is it cool if I can add some men on LinkedIn? Pause. Yeah, absolutely. We encourage you guys to be to network with one another. He writes, asking permission, don't want to come off as a user, piece of the saints. Yeah, I mean, if you're linking up with people on LinkedIn, yeah, feel free to share your LinkedIn. In fact, I encourage the members to endorse each other for in-demand skills because I want to see you guys winning in every area. I want my guys going out, I want my guys going out in this world and dominating everything. Leaders in business, leaders in politics, leaders in science and technology and innovation. So we do everything to help one another out. We want every advantage. And I tell you, this thing of ours is not about race. It's not about ethnicity. It's not about nationality. This is a global movement. You heard me? And I would way quicker help a motherfucking Norwegian white saint than I would help a black stranger that grew up in my same neighborhood. You dig? It's really like that. It's Assassin or nothing on mine. Shout out to Majesty supporting the work. Writes, nothing in the world is free. You couldn't tell none of these dirt bags, right? Shout out to none of the above. He writes, talk it while you walk it. Floss it like we avoiding cavities. Bro, I'm trying to tell you, man. Listen, I get more compliments in a day than you busters are getting the span of your life. You dig? You want to hate on me, it don't even make sense. It just verifies that I'm a big deal, man, and I tend to enjoy it. It just make me want to do more flossy shit on you boys, like drink out of a custom cup with my brand on it. With my pinky up on you rascals. That's just natural. You hear me? That's just how it felt, right? Y'all niggas mess around, get me mad. I might call up a bad bitch just to come and rub my bald head during the live stream. You dig? And here's the crazy thing. You see, you got cats. You know, you're a motherfucking winner when people try to insult me and they're like, you're a bald head. I'm like, duh. like I'm the bald head lover. You hear me? I'm the bald head lover. I'm clearly bald head. But here's the crazy thing. Think about how good my life is when you try to think of something to insult, the best you can come up with, you bald head, milk dud. Like that shit was never funny. Like not the first time, it was never funny. And I will laugh. If somebody get off a good joke on me, I'm gonna fucking laugh because I like to laugh. You dig? But it's hard as shit because God has sculpted me beautifully. You hear me? And imagine like the only thing you can insult is you bald head, which I am. And if I actually found it to be a problem, like I can reach into my pocket and grab pocket change and go get this shit solved. You dig? But I would never do that because I'm a real man and I encourage men to not act like bitches. Don't act like a broad. You don't need to beautify. You don't need to wear makeup. You heard me? Be a fucking man. So you're not gonna see me fly to Turkey or fly to Miami and get hair plugs. That's not manly shit. And I teach you guys how to be a real one. You dig the difference between me and these rascals out here? I am the example. I am the example of masculinity. I am the example of manhood and authority. I am the example of self-confidence and self-esteem. So you're not going to see me go out and act like a fucking broad and get all of these physical enhancements. I don't need that to get a bitch. You dig? I get a bitch just from talking. I'm top of the food chain, boy. Yeah, man. And I got beautiful 20-year-olds. They literally text me like, I just want to rub your bald head. And I tell them that's great because I would love for you to rub my bald head. I really would. It actually feels good. I like head massages. Y'all ever had a head massage? When I go to the spa, I always make sure that they do the head as well. It feels great. Really, it does. You should try that out if you haven't. And it's best when you're bald, just in case you guys have hair. You're missing out. You might want to cut it. You know, you did. You know. And here's the other crazy thing. Males are so effeminate today that they are like, oh, I want to get my hair. Now that's cute, my boy, except that what causes baldness in males, it's a byproduct of testosterone. Testosterone is a chiefly male thing, right? That's kind of what marks us is high levels of testosterone. It's a beautiful thing. Be proud of it. When you see men mature, this is a part of male maturation. I wear this as a beautiful mark of a masculine, mature male. Just like I wear this beard. That's a part of male maturation. Y'all motherfuckers want to look like broads. You heard me? I don't want to look like a broad. And in fact, sometimes I see the young boys at me on IG and I look at the picture too long. I think it's a bitch. I'm like, oh, let me see. Oh, that's a nigga. What the fuck, bro? You got this long ass hair and you got all these fucking filters on. I thought you was a bitch. Man, like if you niggas don't knock it off with this shit, man, y'all got to grow up out here, Brody. For real though. Anyway, shout out to Majesty. Actually, I already acknowledged those. Appreciate those of you who have supported the work. I just want to take a little bit of time, talk some shit to you losers. I kind of enjoy it. I ain't gonna lie to you. It's called boss talk, Brody. But you can only do it when you're really a boss out here, man. In a real way. Listen to me, man. I am a motherfucking event. I'm a walking event. Nigga, you ever been a walking event? You ever been the show? Nigga, I am the show. You heard me? Yeah. Listen to me. When I'm moving through resorts in Vegas, nigga, or when I'm in Monaco or Dubai, nigga, I'm what makes it Dubai. I'm what makes it Monaco. When you go to places like that, you want to see a motherfucker in a suit like this, some shit you ain't never seen, some shit you done seen in a movie. You heard me? You want to see a nigga put on the matching hat. Matter of fact, yeah, we taking off the headphones just to yeah, listen, you want to see a nigga doing shit like that where you be wondering, like, where you get that hat from and how is it that color? Like, where do you find stuff like that? Like, nigga, I am the fucking backdrop of Dubai, of Monaco, of Las Vegas, of Manhattan. Like, I am the backdrop of this shit. You heard me? Like, I'm what motherfuckers go there to see. You dig? To walk by a nigga that looks like a movie. Huh? Yeah, come on, man. I make dreams come true out here. Talk about it, Brody. Listen, man, I be so fucking player. A woman will walk up to me with her husband and just be like, yo, that suit is crazy. And then the husband be like, I can't, it's crazy. It's amazing. And then the wife reach out like, oh, can I touch the material? Like, Brody, like your wife is deeply attracted to me and hypnotized in front of you. It's irresistible. She can't even resist this shit, man. That's really my life out here. All of this cute shit. You're bald. Nigga, I'm the bald head lover. Listen, man, y'all fuck around and leave me free. The government fails to lock me up for being this player. I'm going to fuck around and start a trend. Everybody going to be cutting their shit bald in a minute, man. In a real way. Listen to me. They all going to be, and you got to ask yourself, how much money does he save on shampoo and conditioner? Tremendous amounts, man. I'm saving money out here, bro. But listen, man, to these haters, bro, I could just talk boss shit for years on end on the real facts of my life. I find it comical when people are like, he doesn't have this, he doesn't do that. What are you talking about? The evidence is there. Like, it's like no one believes you. Somebody, let me drop my IG so motherfuckers can see how bosses live. And one day I'm gonna take out some time and upload all the footage that I never put on. Like, I've been in Morocco like 9 fucking times. I don't even have a story highlight from Morocco, and I've been like 9 times. Shout out to my Moroccan mommies, you dig? Instagram.com/Marquette Devon. That's how bosses live in real life. You dig? I do the things that you can't fake. You heard me? I do the things you can't pretend on. Come on now. He writes, Saint, you ain't never lied about that head massage. My old lady, bro, I'm trying to tell you, peace to the saints. Yeah. Shout to Mullane Drift, right? Salute to the big homie from Savannah, Georgia, aka the real Georgia. He's sending these envious scoundrels back to their shitholes, man. I'm trying to tell you. And shout out to Georgia, man. Like Atlanta, I really can't mess with Atlanta. I was like, God damn, how is it that 40% of you balls is choking on Skittles? It's terrible. But I was looking at a phenomenal property that was kind of halfway between Atlanta airport and the Savannah, Georgia airport. Just extraordinary plantation style property on huge acreage. They're not trying to play ball, but it's still on my list. The good news is it's so expensive. I don't think it's going to sell anytime soon. So I got hella time. I'm going to wait them out and try to chop them down a little bit. And then I'm going to mess around and cop it. The only thing is when you buying these estates, which y'all niggas know about estates, when you buying these estates, the issue is that I'm wondering, like, damn, am I going to be able to get my goddamn Amazon packages? Like, I know good and well they ain't delivering Amazon way the hell out here. Like, you heard me? That might be the one issue. So I'm going to probably just have to fly in a bunch of broads with me, you dig? Just so I could switch them up every now and then because I just tend to like variety. You heard me? Anyways, ladies and saints, I'll give you some time to send in your comments, questions as we wind down. And by the way, shout out to the South Africans who are too fucking cowardly to come on and debate, but they're gonna have they dumbasses in the comments. It's extraordinary. And that's why I always tell you guys, you don't need a big group. You just need a real man, because one lion is stronger than 30 goddamn hyenas, man. That's all you need. One lion to terrify a bunch of hyenas. They was so fucking lit in the comments, man. Look at this. They can't provide a logical rebuttal. The only thing they can do is deflect. Like, what the fuck does that even mean? Niggas be stupid out here trying their best to use some polysyllabic words. Don't even know the fucking definition. Anyways, let's see. Okay, so shout to the real South Africans. He says, I'm a black South African. I worked hard to be where I am. I can agree with what he's saying. Thank you for saying this, bro. South Africa says that other black people are jealous of them by pointing this issue out. Yeah, that's crazy. Isn't it? Like, what black American would be jealous of a South African, nigga? I personally know South Africans that beg me to come to the States. You heard me? Like, my employees are like, yo, like, can you get me a visa? Which is hard to get because like nobody's trying to go to South Africa like that. Niggas is trying to go from South Africa to America. Let's just keep it a bean out here, nigga. Y'all can say what you want to say about America, but the shit is still called the land of opportunity. You dig? Come on now, let's talk about it. Motherfuckers be talking wild shit that don't make no sense. The motherfuckers act like they can't read, right? Can I join the live call? I'm in South Africa. If you're a female, you can join free of cost. Yeah, we'll send you the link. If you're a dude, you send your $15 or more via PayPal or Venmo or Super Chat. Yeah, we'll give you the link. Come on. We'd love to hear some of your wisdom. He says, as an honest South African, I can concur. So it seems like a lot of them were showing me love, but there's definitely a significant number of knuckleheads out here. Look at this. Black Americans are only a small 15% of the population, but built the greatest nation on earth. Well, first off, motherfuckers are not 15%. Blacks are about 12%, especially when you start accounting for illegals. And when you say built the greatest nation on earth, yeah, if you mean in a literal sense, yeah, they did build it. Motherfuckers were enslaved. You heard me? Even slaves built the White House. So yeah, they did build it. But were they in control of it? No. Are the black Americans the most influential, powerful black people, wealthy black people on earth? You better believe it, goddammit. That's why I don't want to hear none of you rascals talking shit. You heard me? You ain't qualified. And look at this. This idiot writes, come on, bro. First off, I'm not your bro. You're trash. I have superior genetics. We don't share genetics, so don't call me bro. I don't know you like that, you dirty rascal. Shout to Michael. He writes, peace of the saints, confidence is unmatched and it's contagious in a real way. You dig? Shit, we just showing boys how to live and think out here. But anyways, back to this nutcase right here. He writes, come on, bro. That's no different than black folk outside black American culture saying black Americans are lazy. Well, here's the funny thing, my boy. Black Americans are pretty fucking incompetent. Yeah, they're pretty goddamn incompetent, and they have inferiority complex, and their values are in disrepair. So I'm gonna go ahead and sign off. I don't know if I necessarily say lazy. They do not know how to hustle, but they're incompetent. So their hustling is often backwards, and their values are misplaced. So yeah, like if someone was critical of the black Americans, I'd say, yeah, I'm signing off on it. It makes sense. So your fucking comment is stupid and irrelevant because we're not talking about black Americans. We're talking about South Africans. And more importantly, we don't need to talk about black Americans. They're outperforming blacks everywhere on the planet Earth. So what the fuck are we going to talk about them for? They're the ones who need the least help. He writes, and they have mad opportunities in compared to other blacks around the world. Actually, that's a fucking lie, you idiot. They're in a more developed economy, correct. But could you really have a better opportunity when you're a minority subsumed within a majority in a country that was designed based on you being in bondage? I don't know. I think personally, I think I'd do better if I was like a black in Zimbabwe or a black in Nigeria. I think I'd do a lot better, to be honest with you, where you're basically just competing, you know, you're competing and you have some real access there and you have lineage and history and family ties. Yeah, I think I do better there, frankly. And also you don't have to worry about weirdo shit like, you know, police brutality, systemic racism and discrimination. So yeah, I'm not signing off on that. I think that's a bunch of bullshit, but it's irrelevant because that's not the topic. Black Americans are not the topic. Black South Africans are the topic. He says, as a black South African, I tend to agree. There you go. He writes, absolutely. They blame everyone but themselves. Isn't that crazy?